Welcome back to the Star Trek Critic. Occasionally you come upon that one episode that was used just to get to a specific number of shows that year, when in reality it should have never been made. But it isn't a terrible show, it will just never happen in the future, and that is The Royale. The first point will be taken for an overall bad plot, then 1 point lost since this planet isn't rotating, it's just drifting. As usual, they are diverted from their mission, but the Klingons only reported they saw something. How far did they divert? My guess is they were close by. This is actually colder than absolute zero, so minus 1 point. And Fermat's last theorem was solved in 1994, before the series ended, so minus 1 point since this is no longer accurate. That's what she said. The hard part is trying to connect this teaser with what goes on in the rest of the show. I haven't figured it out yet. As usual, it is beamed aboard with the markings out of the camera's view and upright, so minus 1 point. And minus 1 point for grabbing something that's at absolute zero with your bare hands. Should I take a point since it doesn't say SpaceX? Diana Muldaur is not listed as a regular, so minus 1 point. The stars in the back are not moving, so minus 1 point. And this is the structure they're going down to. Minus 1 point for opening credits 6 minutes into the show. I know there's a reason for it, but it is really annoying. It turns out the transporter has stoplights. When I saw this door, I figured the show would be very much like this one. Minus 1 point for not trying to walk around the doors first or to see if there were walls along the sides. Minus 1 point for not beaming down a standby party to stay outside the doors while they went in. And when you first saw them walk into this casino on a foreign planet, did you immediately think of this show? He's the most unsettling friendly desk clerk in the world that makes you think you're going to get killed in the middle of the night in your hotel room. We never do see Rita. When you watch this show, have you ever wondered if these characters run through the novel and reset themselves every few days? I think they do, and if the three waited around, the foreign investors would have eventually shown up. Whatever technology they're using is different than the Enterprise's holodeck, so Riker is thinking, let's look around and see if we can steal this technology since no one here is actually real. To make this special effect, they're simply sliding the planet sideways over the stars. Jean-Luc performs the Picard maneuver. If the communicator can't get through the clouds, Deanna's empathic ability wouldn't be able to get through either, so minus 1 point. Data found his second home at the blackjack table. Now Data says, hell, you're just throwing your money away. And he won on a 5-card Charlie. Not bad. If you want to get technical, Data is a card counter since he knows that the numbers and locations are constant, so he can keep track of them like this guy. Just what are these guys talking about right here? Now comes the old revolving door trick. This is what happens when you don't pay your hotel bill. Minus 1 point. This captain's log is simply talking down to the audience like we forgot everything that happened during the commercials. So here's where the Hotel Royale book gets problematic. Current technology has already passed up the technology of the casino, so for this casino to be accurate, the book would need to be written in the 1980s or earlier and take place even earlier than that. Nowhere in the show does it say when it was written, so I can't take a point. Aww. What's strange in this phaser scene is that nobody in the hotel seemed to notice. This guy proves to be no help at all. What they really need to find is an Arge or a gatekeeper type character. So on a side note, if you're a fan of the old Micronauts comic book, this scene looks a lot like something that takes place in their Body Banks casino. Okay, back to Star Trek. Picard wants to know if Riker can read his mind. In a lot of ways, this episode is written a lot like a hotel's casino escape room. This puts Captain Ritchie's room about 10 floors above them, so it's a pretty big building. Poor Worf didn't think about the button, so now he looks silly. And just like on the Enterprise, anytime someone goes through turbolift doors and extra crosses. Here's another problem. If there are 10 floors of empty rooms, that means there's a lot of empty space in this building. Now it's time to play Guess the Gender of the Corpse. Data says 283 when the correct number is 283. A human will do that, but Data would not, so minus 1 point.
He has been dead for 283 years, sir.
I will have to take a point here. That's an Apollo 17 patch. But the flag does have 52 stars. As you can see, he says 2079 AD, which means all that woke current era crap will be thrown to the trash soon. Yes! Riker makes a mistake here. The 20th century is the 1900s. The time period he just said is the 2000s, so minus 1 point. Worf found a Gideon Bible and the Hotel Royale novel. The Charybdis took off in 2037, which is only 13 years away from now, but they don't say when they lost contact with it. If he died right after his last diary entry where he says he was in the hotel for 38 years, that means he's been in that hotel since 2044, so there are 7 years unaccounted for. Here's the problem. The Charybdis would never make it out this far, so the alien ship must have made contact with it close to Earth. They would not create this giant hotel so far away just to keep one person alive. Those aliens would have dropped him off in a cornfield on Earth somewhere and taken off. So this show loses 1 point since it would never happen, even in the future of Star Trek. Also, if the aliens could read that book printed in English, they would have known about Earth, so minus 1 more point. This may be the one time the last human didn't end up in an alien zoo somewhere. Minus 1 point here. They should realize that the hotel is running just like one of their holonovels, and letting it play out is an option. Geordi's plan will get them frozen and possibly killed in only 12 seconds, so I think they should pass on that one. They say, Dr. Pulaski, can you revive us if we do that? And she's like, yeah, probably not. This is another fine example of how this show is impossible. There's no way the alien to make food for this guy for 38 years. Where is the food being made and who's cooking it? Now this is confusing. Riker wants to find out if they is the first or second baseman. Sir Patrick Stewart, the world-famous Shakespearean actor, recites the most famous line of his lifetime.
It was a dark and stormy night.
The elevator door doesn't open all the way, so minus 1 more point. Data feels very comfortable in the hotel, so leaves Worf to fend for himself. Aww. Tex quotes a line from his favorite Kenny Rogers song. 1991 is the only reference to a year from the book. This is every man's favorite scene. Well, almost every man's. Does Data think Tex is also an alien that got into the hotel and not out, or is he just trying to make conversation to fish for answers? In case you're wondering, the phrase "hit me" was used 5 times in this show. Worf just got a phone call from Rita. How did he manage that? Even when Mickey D goes through the doors and extra crosses, there goes another one. Minus 1 point since they didn't look for Rita. In reality, they should have looked for the main computer room that is running the whole thing. If the tricorder could find human DNA, it should have been able to find the power source. The drama is so bad, even Deanna has to leave, and eventually it puts Captain Picard to sleep. The bellboy quotes Billy Bass, which is too much for Mickey D, so he shoots him in the back. Mickey D almost quotes Cyrus Redblock. It's like they have the same screenwriter. Picard tells them how it ends. Of course, the hotel program probably has holographic foreign investors on their way. Either Data needs to buy the hotel fast before they show up, or they were deleted when the concierge mistook the landing party for them. We will never really find out. Even in 1989, this isn't that much for a hotel casino. One thing that is interesting about this episode is all the slang they use. Poor Vanessa, she's had her butt pinched every 5 days for the past 300 years. Data alters the altered dice.
Baby needs a new pair of shoes.
And again the question goes back to, how much emotion does Data really have? Picard says, Commander Riker, stay in character. The investors are flamboyantly generous. Riker's like, what do you mean flamboyant? And why is the manager looking at me with that creepy grin? And what was Captain Ritchie really doing for 38 years? Riker says give this money to the parking lot attendants. Maybe they should follow them out to the parking lot? That's what she said. They buy the hotel. Riker says even more cheesy lines. Then they head for the door. Wait a second, something isn't right. Of course, 300 years later, it's Hotel Royale Part 2. Data is thrown in jail for altering the dice and has to be rescued by Sheriff Worf, while Riker is upstairs in a room with the hotel girls and doesn't really give a shit anymore. Which makes you wonder, if the hotel gets bought out over and over again, would Captain Ritchie be able to go out the door? Not that he could go anywhere after that. But minus 1 point for the light on the left, and minus 1 more point since Ritchie had only 1 journal entry in 38 years. Really, they're just sliding the planet to the left, so minus 1 point. Now that Starfleet knows about the holographic Hotel Royale, the ships will come here in droves to try the hotel escape room during shore leave. And since Fermat's theorem has been solved, they might solve the secret to the Hotel Royale. Greg Beecroft was on soap operas, so was perfect for Mickey D. Leo Garcia was also in soap operas. Jill Jacobson was Vanessa with 70 screen credits, including Splash, Falcon Crest, and Quantum Leap, and will be back on Deep Space Nine. Sam Anderson has 175 screen credits, including WKRP, TJ Hooker, And Forrest Gump. Mr. Anderson was never on The Matrix. And Noble Willingham pretty much played himself, with 130 screen credits including Good Morning Vietnam, The A-Team, and Walker, Texas Ranger. And Rita played herself. The Royale is one of those unique episodes that, due to its uniqueness, would never happen in the future, and gets a score of 75. Don't forget the Charybdis launches in just 14 years, 2037 AD. Thanks for viewing. Be sure to leave comments below, click that like button, the share button, that subscribe button, and I'll see you again soon.